limitless possibilities.
By youth, for youth. من الشباب لأجل الشباب.
Has you in the right mood for MGF. So let's get going with our first session, and it's a super interesting one around a very popular subject, the art of filmmaking. The pillar for our opening session today is culture. And this is frame by frame, connecting cultures. Please welcome our first moderator for today, journalist and TV host Ajwa Aljoudi.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. حضورنا الكريم. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first session here at Al Majlis in Miss Global Forum of this year. And we're starting with a very young, dynamic, and growing topic, as my colleague just mentioned, which is connecting cultures through films. And that's, you know, the film industry now, it's really growing in the region and especially in Saudi. And with my guests today, inshallah, we will dive deeply into the value of film, not only into expressing our culture, but also to connect with global cultures through the universal language of storytelling. Allow me to welcome Eisa Alhabib, the founder of Majarra production company. Baraa Alem, actor, writer, and a director. And Maram Taibah, film director and an author. Thank you for being here. Please have a seat. So, Eisa, allow me to start with you. You were born in the UAE to Kuwaiti parents. But then you moved to Canada to study medicine. What makes what was in your head to move or to do that big of a shift in careers, knowing that now you're more into film and content creation?
Thank you so much for having me, Misk, and I'm so happy to be joining such amazing people in this panel. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, to answer your question, I was really a young kid. I didn't know what I was doing. So in school, I loved making videos and films, and I wanted to be an actor, a filmmaker, and I'm sitting next to amazing filmmakers and actors right here. So I wanted to be a part of that, but as you know, the Arabic culture, we were told, keep that as a hobby, keep that as a hobby. So then I took my studies seriously, and then I ended up in Canada studying medicine. But then when I was there, I realized, no, that is not the path for Eisa. I'm doing something wrong. My passion is somewhere else. And I just had to, I told myself, I'm going to do 1 year. I took a gap year after 7 years of my life wasting in studies. I'm going to give my passion 1 year. If it works out, I will continue. If it doesn't, I'll go back to medicine. Alhamdulillah, it did. In that 1 year period, I was able to make videos that reached millions of views and worked with the government of the UAE. So it was exciting, yeah.
That's great. So we want to know, how did you really decided to do so, and what was the steps that you took in order to change the career? You know, this is not easy.
Yes.
And especially for younger people, it's really kind of like a
drastic and
exactly,
crazy,
yeah.
Absolutely, and this is what I tell people. They're like, oh, Eisa, you were able to go from medicine to media. Can I do that? Can I just quit my job and do whatever? And I tell them, no, that's not how it happens. You have to be realistic with your situation. If you're stuck with a job that is feeding you, that job is your livelihood, then you need to find a way slowly to transition into something you love. So your passion is going to be there for all your life. But how you choose to embrace your passion, this is it's a step, it's a strategic step. You can't decide one day, khalas, I'm going to stop my studies and do everything. I'm going to do, what if you fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if you don't have the money? What if you didn't plan it out properly? So my advice to young people, especially if they're doing something that they're not sure about, give it a try, but at the same time, open your eyes into other opportunities, like and strategize. Have a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, and then tell yourself, okay, if this works out, this is what I'm going to do, and slowly but surely reach where your destination, and not just don't do drastic changes. Sometimes it works, and other times, many times, it doesn't work.
And it's risky too.
Yes, exactly.
So with that being said, are you still practicing medicine?
Absolutely not. Never will. Never will be. Inshallah, yeah, it's not for me. It's for other people. And mashallah, there's amazing doctors here in this region and outside. Subhanallah, when you see people and you see a doctor, you're like, that profession was meant for that person. And the same thing with me. When people see Isa, it's media. So that's what I believe. But anyways, yeah.
Thank you so much. Maram, as a young adult author and a filmmaker, what was the storytelling frameworks that you usually follow in order to tell your story? How can you share that to our audience today?
One thing I can say to anyone who's aspiring to be, whether that's an author or a screenwriter, if you want to start to tell stories, is that you have to absorb them first. In order to be able to tell a story that is moving and impactful, you have to have either read a lot of stories, read a lot of books, or watched a lot of films, gone to many plays, and exposed yourself to as much as possible from that media that you love so much in order for it to become kind of second nature. And then so that when you start writing or you start creating, it comes to you a lot more easily. That's usually the advice that, you know, writing teachers give, and I believe in it 100%, is if you want to be a good writer, you have to read. You have to read a lot of books, and you have to watch a lot of films in order to bring that in and make it your strength. Did I answer your question?
You did answer the question. So following the frameworks of a storytelling, do you change like in between while you're writing a story, and how drastic that change can take you?
Do you mean from one draft to another?
Yeah.
Very drastic. Okay. I always promise myself I try to give this advice to anybody who's starting a new project, your first draft has to be really bad. And you have to allow it to be really, really bad, because then that's the only way you can allow yourself to set yourself free and just create, let it come out of you. As long as you have that first lump of clay, no matter what it looks like, you can then start to shape it draft by draft. So, for example, I wrote a novel in 2018, and I'm still trying to get it published, inshallah. But from 2018 until today, that draft has changed so drastically with the help of a few mentors, and that's normal. That's the process you should expect for the work that you're about to start.
Thank you, Maram. Baraa, you're an actor, and as we see in your content in Filmer, you have a great knowledge in film locally and internationally. How did you find that passion in film?
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. Haqiqi, it means so much to me. I owe Misk a lot because I didn't get the chance to study abroad when I wanted to follow film as a career. But Misk had this 10 days workshop that gave me my first sneak peek into Hollywood. They sent us to LA. We spent there like 10 days, and I still owe Misk that till now, because I have friends from that trip that are still my friends now. To answer your question, as Isa said, growing up, it's either you're a doctor, an engineer, or a failure. And I shocked my mother that I wanted to be a failure, because I was, and not to say anything, my sister is here and she's a doctor, and I just, I appreciate what you guys do, but I'm following the last year of high school, I knew for sure, alhamdulillah, I didn't waste any time. I know for sure that it's not for me, and I know for sure that I wanted to make films. So YouTube was my go-to, especially in 2016, 2017. There was no film studies yet in Saudi Arabia. I mean, now you have Jamiat Noura, you have Imam Muhammad University, you have Iffat University in Jeddah, which are growing in the past 3 years. But back then it was not an option. And I thought YouTube is a great choice, because when transferring knowledge, you're actually gaining the most knowledge yourself. and I was a product of film since I was a kid, because I think I gained my knowledge, my English, it was my window to the world, and I thought of spreading that culture, spreading that knowledge to people through YouTube, which gave me an edge myself in there, in YouTube specifically, and also gave me a space to practice when there was no other spaces to do so, to review films, to act in some little stupid sketches that actually, when I look at them now, I'm like, young, poor me, mashallah alaik. But just to follow my career step by step, those stupid sketches got me my first role in an actual film. So yeah, if I'm gonna make it short, it's transferring knowledge, حقيقي, and finding a space, creating actually a space, even if there is no space that are actually present.
What attracted you most in films? Is it the story? Is it the action? Is it the props? What is it that attracted you initially?
Generally, as a viewer, as a film viewer and reviewer, I think film are a very, very important, if not the most important medium to transfer knowledge and ideas in nowadays, motion pictures in general. And so that was like, wow, I think I want to be part of that as a filmmaker. As an actor, it gives you a space, it gives you a very therapeutic experience, just to just be out of yourself and empathize and put yourself in other people's shoes, and it was actually therapeutic. And I mean, some of my filming experiences, I got out of them a different person, like very, very much affecting my moral compass, my empathy. It makes you a better person as an actor. But in general, I really do believe till today that film is one of the most important mediums to transfer knowledge. I mean, look at us now. Even if us, like the you can tell that مثلا some of us have a British accent in their English. Well, some of us has American jokes. We all got that from films in a way or another. And I think I want that to be the other way around. I think within the next few years, we should be the one exporting it and not just importing it.
Absolutely agree. Isa, you lived in different cultures, and we can see that throughout your content. And now we live in an era where any topic can be a topic of just discussion, just adding some facts and history and whatnot. So to you, when you're thinking of a topic, how do you validate that topic? Do you ask yourself a series of questions? Do you do like a certain research? What do you do in order to validate a topic to start talking about it in the media?
That's a good question. For my content in particular, I make videos that explain things. So I had a show called اشرح لي, which means explain to me. So the whole idea of my show that I presented for around 3 years was to find topics and explain them about Arabs for Arabs. So in order to do that, at first we're like, okay, let's start with the most simple, basic questions. Like we have, why are the Saudis, they love rap? Why do Saudis love rap? Why do Kuwaitis always make jokes? And then I ask questions about Arabs, like, okay, well, Egyptians, why are they so funny? And then so it starts with like literally curious questions, and then we go, and then we built a team around the show. I had a content writer, me, and myself, a videographer, and we would sit around and be like, okay, how can we find answers to these questions? We'd go to YouTube, on Google and everything. We'd find articles about like different perspectives. We'd ask people around. So the research process of any script that we write for a video is the same research process for a film, but in a very minor scale, because we have to do it very fast and we have to do it in smaller scale. So it's the same process. It's like you need to go out and brainstorm ideas and then find a structure for that script. And then once you find the structure, you validate those. Sometimes you want to put controversial ideas because you want engagement, because social media is all about engagement. So so to bring about like something debatable in the video, sometimes I want to do that because I want to spark a conversation. So I would talk about a stereotype. In particular, I would put that in the video to see what people think. Not just because I'm trying to instigate or something, but it's because you want to create that conversation. So to answer your question in a different way, I mean, it's a very creative process, and that's why I love it. And I'm sure these two individuals can relate. Is that finding that that process and that creative journey is like, it's the most fulfilling process. And then when you post the video, and I'm sure for you guys it's different because you have to screen it on a film and it has to go through for us it's just one click. So, and then you get either bad views or good views. So again, but the process of getting there is the most fulfilling part.
So among all the topics that you've been discussing throughout your content, is there a certain topic that people really get engaged to more than the other?
Yes. We realized this early on. Anna, when I first created the show Shrah Li, the first 10 episodes, we were about to kill the show. So because we made very general topics, like why is music always in, like why do you remember songs? And then we asked like, why is chess like famous? Whatever. We asked these weird questions. And then once we started realizing, we talk about Arabs specifically, like when, for example, like it's a very crazy example, but like, why is sihr منتشر, or why is the magic prevalent in Maghreb or Oman? When we started asking those questions and we made videos about it, everyone is interested, because these are always in our Arab mind. These are in our head all the time as kids growing up. That's what do you call it? That's the stereotypes we have about each other, and the traditions, the cultures. We want to hear about our Arab cultures spoken about in different ways. So once we started making those niche, very like specific about Arab topics, it went way more viral. So after those 10 episodes, we made the first episode we did is that why do we look different as Arabs? Like why is Khaliji looks different than a Shami, and etc. So we made that video and it went super viral with millions of views. So I started realizing, and then it clicked in my head, is like we need to make videos for us, about us. But now my next journey is to make videos about us but for the world. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Isa. Maram, before we go ahead and ask you the second question, we have a video we want to show for everyone.
كان يا ما كان كانت في ملكة قوية وشجاعة وست الناس كلهم.
سلمى سلمى
فين التاج حق ستو؟ يا كرومبا وين رايحة؟
تاج موجود في صحراء النجوم. حيجوك وحوش الظلام اللي ما عمرهم شافوا لا شمس ولا قمر. لازم تقتليهم بالساطور الأبدي. لا تنسي تمسحي الدم.
That's, ladies and gentlemen, Maram's new film. It's called Melika, and it's competing in the Red Sea Film Festival of this year. Congratulations, Maram.
Thank you.
And we really wish you the best, inshallah. So, Maram, moving from books to films, tell us about the different steps that you do to create the film, starting from getting the fund up to distributing the film.
Okay. So Melika is a short fantasy film that was funded by Film Al Ula. It was part of the Al Ula Creates program, where they chose 3 female filmmakers to be mentored by director Haifa Al Mansour and producer James Richardson. And it was such a, for me, it was a life-changing experience, because I was in a, tough spot in my life at the time. And then this opportunity showed up and I took it. And I didn't expect such a joyful, like a big joyful journey making this film, because first of all, I decided to go for a genre that is perceived as difficult in the Middle East so far. And I decided to jump on board and do this. It was a fantasy, plus it had child actors. 2 difficult things to work with as a filmmaker. But this film is all me. Like, It's everything that I wanted to create ever since I was a child. I grew up reading a lot of fantasy. I grew up with the Narnia books, the Harry Potter books, and just a whole bunch of other fantasy books that were famous at the time. And it shaped me. It shaped me as a creator. It shaped my inner world. And also, more important than the fantasy books that I read, I grew up with a grandmother who had a treasure trove of Hijazi fairy tales that very few people knew. And so she carried on this oral tradition of storytelling, and we grew up with so many beautiful, epic fairy tales. So in a way, this film is very much a gift to her, to my Sittu, and to all the Sittus who tell stories. And we were so lucky. I was so lucky to be working with a wonderful producer, Farah Jouni, because together, we shared the same creative vision, we shared the same mode of working, we shared the same vision for what our set would look like, how we would work with the creatives on set. We created a beautiful, alhamdulillah, we created a beautiful energy on our set that was where everyone felt valued, that was very positive. We had some wonderful feedback from the people who were on set. They were like, متوقعين كمان شوية حتوزعوا علينا cotton candy من كتر ما كنا, everybody was happy. And alhamdulillah, everybody who came onto this project was a creative that was just right for it. It just felt like there was kind of a bigger force taking care of this film that was out of our control. There was a lot of surrender towards the creative flow, and we had people from our costume designers were Atelier Hikayat. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they're quite well known here in Saudi. They do couture, but they came up with a whole line of costumes, fantasy costumes for our film that were so beautiful. And we had composers, we had our editors, like so many different creative energies went into this film. And for me as a director, I learned so much about how you knew it. Baraa, you and I were having this conversation before we came on board about how much control should a director have on set. And the thing that I learned from this experience was that you need to let go of your authority just enough in order for every creative person on the set to put a piece of themselves in it, because that is how a beautiful film is made. It's a collaborative experience. And it was such a joy that I really, really hope to recreate this experience again and again throughout my career, inshallah, with a feature. This film is a proof of concept for a feature film, Da'watkum. And if you're curious to know more about it and to follow its journey, you can go on Instagram at Malika Short Film.
We wish you all the best, Maram,
you.
and we look forward to watch the film in the Red Sea Film Festival, inshallah. Baraa, you've been in the film industry for quite a while, and you've seen the changes that evolves here in Saudi. What would you advise a young person sitting maybe here in the audience who really want to join the film industry? What's the first step to do so?
I don't know if I'm in a place to give advices and tell about steps, but I'm already sitting between both يعني creatives who حقيقي are inspiring and who are saying stuff that are inspiring and making work. يعني I think the first thing that got my attention in Maram's trailer that it looks so true to the place it's coming from. It's so honest, صادق للculture, للplace, and I think this is very, very important, especially in an industry that is built 120 years ago in the West, and we're learning so much, and there is no shame in learning, but I'm not a big fan of copying, and I'm not a big fan of recreating Western mythologies and Arab tongues. As Maram said, our grandmas had tons of stories, and we have a lot of cultural treasures that are buried and waiting for us to tell, either as films or either as content. You were speaking about that moment when you click publish. Oh my God, I've been living with that for like 4 years and on YouTube, and believe me, it's so much fun when you get that instant feedback, and gratification and I think, because I was editing my own videos for a while, and I think that's one main big reason why I am actually capable and have an edge at directing and editing commercials and short films now, because I had that journey, and I didn't have academic education, but I did it. I went down and I did it myself, and that might be my second tip, is that don't expect, even if you studied in AFI or New York Film Academy, even if you came up with, don't expect to come out and just start telling stories as a head of a production or a director. You need to go down and start نسميها احنا يعني تاكل الارض. You need to go, you need to hold cables, you need to make coffee for people, you need to work in different departments, you need to have the passion that is يعني enough for you to go through different departments and roles and make yourself, because you can never learn film from paper and from you can learn about the history of it, you can learn about what was it, but you cannot actually make films if you're not making them with your hand. So be true to yourself and make them with your hand.
Right, especially that the film production has a lot of department. So you wouldn't understand what's going on in each department unless you have an experience of what's going on in there. So that's a great advice. Isa, you have won multiple film competitions and awards and you name it. So how did you get to do that, or did they find you?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I was in university doing medicine, quote unquote, my escape from that was two things. Number one was traveling. I loved, like every time I would get a vacation, I would do a volunteer project. I would go travel and volunteer on a project. And then number two was making videos. So part of me making videos and me proving to myself that I'm good enough to make videos, I would submit my videos for film competitions, short film videos. And then one opportunity came. This was back in 2017, where there was a short film award hosted by the Emmys, international Emmys, and I submitted my film, and I directed, wrote, and everything. I did all this, and I shot it in Dubai. I'm like, okay, I want to do this because I want to test if I can do this good enough. And I was able to win that award for a short film I called Domestic Cycle, and I related it back to my childhood, etc. But just to answer your question, is like, no, it was me going and chasing after those competitions. Everything I would go and submit because I wanted. It's like self-validation, because I was doing something that was contrary to my passion, and in order to tell myself like, oh yeah, I'm worthy enough of doing my passion, I should be good at it. And that's what I had to do. I actually had to go prove to my mom and dad, look, I just won an award here for making a video. Look, they're giving me money for making a video. Like, so then be like, okay, and maybe, but my mom still she wants me to be a doctor, but maybe they're convinced better now, especially after seeing the journey I've been on. Again, it's part of the journey that you need to put yourself through. The struggle, like you said, like you need to touch the ground, put yourself through the struggle. Nobody's gonna hand you that award, for that film award. That nobody's gonna take you to a film festival. You have to go submit to that film festival. Same thing with videos, making content. Nobody's just gonna give you views. We call this, there's no such thing as charity views on content when I give a workshop. So nobody's gonna go out of their own goodwill and watch your video and like and subscribe. No, you have to earn that trust, earn that view, earn that follower. So in order to do that, you make something really good. You work hard on yourself, and you spend years of learning and failing until you get there. So yeah.
So how would an aspiring young filmmaker know more about awards? Or maybe that's a topic you should expand on your content. I'm giving him ideas now.
Yeah, but I think these two are better to answer that question, to be honest. But like I said, everything's online now. Saudi, they have amazing initiatives for young filmmakers. Just go online, film contests, film awards. There's so many. You can do something on your phone. Actually, it's a good question. TikTok recently did a short film award, $10,000 for the first place prize. So you make a video on TikTok, you post it on TikTok as a short film, and they will premiere it in the Red Sea Festival, actually. So yeah, so these, even as a content creator now, they're promoting that young people who want to be filmmakers, who want to be storytellers, etc. Yeah.
Thank you, Isa. Maram, from the trailer that we just saw, it seems that Malika did a beautiful job of mixing, like blending Saudi culture and universal themes, as we just have a glimpse in. how important to you to showcase Saudi culture in your work?
I think it's really important because, like Baraa, you just mentioned that we learned a lot about American culture and European culture from cinema. I went to the United States to do my film degree, and I thought that everybody was going to be like friends. Not true, by the way. And then I went the first time I went to the UK. I walked around in London and I saw different sites where like there was the Harry Potter and platform 9 3/4, Shakespeare's village where he grew up, and it's like, why don't we have all of that in the Middle East or in Saudi Arabia? And I had this question in my mind since I was, college days of how do we create that? How do we celebrate Jarir wal Farazdaq and all the way down to whatever cultural products we have these days? And there's so, like you said, there are so many stories that are buried. My grandmother's stories, nobody knows these stories. Do you guys know Oud al-Shadab or Harj ibn Marj? Nobody knows these characters. I know them because I know them from my grandma. But you won't find them in any book. You won't find them in any film. And that is why it's been part of my mission as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, as an author, to unearth these stories and present them to you guys first and then the world, because we need to know them before we share them with the rest of the world. And I think that for me, as a part of my creative process, would be to learn from storytelling that I've been exposed to in the West, whether that's novels or films, through the visual language that I learned, through the written language that I learned, to kind of merge that with the stories that we have over here to create a product that is, refined and then can speak for us about our country and about our heritage and about our history.
That's interesting to say about the fairy tales that we used to hear as kids, because growing up, I noticed that each region or each city, even in Saudi, have completely different characters and stories. I grew up in Al-Hijaz, and I've been hearing a lot of things. Now I hear different things here, and it's just a lot of fairy tales characters.
Absolutely. Like there was a period, like when I was in college, I recorded all of my grandmother's stories. I have them on a hard drive that's shared with the rest of the family. But I also picked up a book from here, from Mantaqat Najd, fairy tales from this region, and it's so beautiful how to watch how they are different from Hijazi fairy tales. Like I noticed they were bolder, more provocative, and I was reading them and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I wish people knew about this. So what I would say is, if you are interested in storytelling, if you are an author, if you're a writer or a filmmaker, go and record the stories from your grandparents. We have a generation of people who is dying. They are going to be leaving us soon, and we don't have their stories recorded anywhere. And I think it is our responsibility to collect these stories and make something out of them, whether it's a film or a short story or a graphic novel or whatever. We can get really creative with this.
You're right. Baraa, speaking of fantasy genre, you have done your latest film, Hoj, and it's also fantasy. Internationally, this genre is really known and it's really popular. People would be drawn to it. So do you think this genre offers a way to descent the cultures, or is just great entertainment?
Definitely. You just mentioned, you said a story that is culturally accurate and right, but then with universal themes. I mean, who of us doesn't know Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings, or whatever, ولا حتى all those all those superhero genres are also fantasies. يعني فكلنا نعرف Superman or Batman or those things, because they actually, I think, they transcend cultures more than realism. Although I think of myself as a man who likes more films that are more real and more of the artistic side of socially and realism, more of that side. But when making them, I did Hawjan because it's an amazing novel by a Saudi novelist who did a great job in doing so, and also did an amazing job in portraying this jinn mythology in our way, in our voice. Because you watch a lot of films that are portraying jinnis, like Aladdin, مثلا, or others, but they have it in their own American or let's say Western point of view, and I think it's fun. It's so much fun and entertaining. When I first read the novel before doing the movie, it's so much fun to see a jinni says Bismillah. You know, actually, yeah, we were raised that the jinn are free, good jinn and bad jinn, and it's actually part of our religion and part of our culture, and we
They're
actually
not necessarily blue.
Shukran. They're not, yeah, and they don't have to sing and fly and and it's so much fun to see, to listen to our voice, to hear our point of view of these things, and I think it is actually very important to transcend culture and transfer culture from the Arab world to the Western world, to the whole world.
I think we have a lot to talk about, but the timing is getting shorter. So I'm just going to finish it with a couple of, I would say, advices to the youth out there to listen to and take in consideration. So, Isa, what would you say 2 or 3 more important things or most important things younger people should do if they want to follow your footsteps?
First of all, don't follow my footsteps. That's number one. Do not follow anybody's footsteps. Find your own path. Because we all have our own different experiences. I grew up different than he did, than she did, etc., etc. So that's number one. Don't compare yourself with other people. That's the trap that we fall into social media. It's all about comparison. Oh, he has more views. Oh, he has more followers. Oh, he travels there. He has a better wife, whatever. You know what I mean? So that comparison is like I said, I love this quote. It's the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. So that's number one. Number two is just starting. And a lot of people now in content, when I talk to people who want to make videos, who want to create content, oh, I want to be a content creator like you, whatever. And they're scared about starting because they feel like they don't have the right tools. ما عندي الكاميرا, I don't have a studio, I don't have resources. You don't need anything to start right now. All you need is an Instagram account, so internet connection. So number one, you need the internet connection, you need a phone. These 2 things, you can make videos. خلاص, you can make videos about anything and anywhere and any time. And then slowly, once you build your experience, you invest in a camera, you invest in whatever. So especially young people now, mashallah alayhim, the TikTok generation is they're crazy creative. They're amazing. They can do so much with just the iPhone camera. And yeah, my advice is like find your passion. If your passion is content, media, storytelling, there's so much to do. So much to do. Like Maram just said, like you can do a graphic novel, you can do a painting. There's so many different ways of expressing that storytelling, that art. So don't just like. Again, for me, my heroes, I met some of my heroes, and some people say, don't meet your heroes. It's true, by the way. Sometimes you get disappointed when you meet your heroes. But like take from their mistakes. And I love learning from other people's mistakes. Before I became a content creator, I was a consumer of content a lot. I would watch YouTube all the time as a kid. I would consume YouTube like Mishal Jasser. Me as a kid, like Mishal Jasser was like, well, I want to be like Mishal Jasser. But that was me, you know. I was like, well, that guy. So, but then once you start meeting these people, you're like, oh, they're just like me, but they made these specific decisions. So I learned from their mistakes, and that was my idea. It's like I saw the journey of someone. Okay, this is what he could have done better. Let me try to do that. So that's my advice. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Isa. Maram, how to make a storytelling more engaging to people?
You gotta learn how to tell a story. There are, I don't want to say rules, but there is a way to tell a story in a way that is engaging, and you have to learn it. A lot of people launch into like writing, but not having read enough of the good work that is out there. Unfortunately, I, as a child, I found it difficult to learn storytelling from Arab material because I couldn't find novels that had really good plots. And I really hope that we can overcome that. But again, look for who does this best and learn it from them. There are so many courses out there that teach you how to tell a good story with good structure. Learn the rules so that you can break them. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Maram. Baraa, so Can you share one unconventional lesson or something untraditional, let's call it, can inspire or aspire a young filmmaker today?
I think that talent is overrated.
What do you mean?
Honestly, إنه this guy is talented, موهوب, هو مولود إنه هو موهوب. This sinks in people's brains and they're like خلاص هو موهوب أنا مش موهوب فمعناته I shouldn't do it. حقيقي effort wins over talent any day, any year, any month.
But Messi is better than Ronaldo.
Yeah, we can argue that. But حقيقي you have to do it. You have to be patient while doing it, and you will if you love it enough, you will have enough patience and enough passion in you to get you there. You shouldn't be talented. صح في people that are born with specific كده traits that are now that he's good looking, she's has a good voice. But if you work hard enough, working hard beats talents diamond, and people with talent, if they didn't work enough, they wouldn't reach the same places that people who work hard do.
Yeah.
And also patience, because especially when I talk from a film perspective, we are an industry that is almost 15 years old here in Saudi. And I'm so happy when I see people, they're like, yeah, we're going to the Oscars. I mean, okay, كنت بقول the Oscars doesn't matter. Okay, it matters in a way. يعني, okay, the exposure, the reach وكده. بس حقيقي it shouldn't be your goal. If you have passion enough for the film itself and for the storytelling and for the medium, that should be enough. Those bigger goals will come naturally, organically, when we work on ourselves. And I think last thing I want to say is that one of the good filmmakers that have actually inspired me through YouTube and through social media, because he has a lot of quotes. Not all of them are like amazing, but yeah, if he has some of them that are actually on point. Quentin Tarantino said, if you actually love film enough, if you actually love it from all your heart, from the bottom of your heart, you can't help but to make a good film. Thank you.
And with that, we learned that, as Isa mentioned, that learn from other people's mistake, read more in order to be a good storyteller, and hard work beats talent. Thank you, my guests, so much for being here. Thank you, our audience.
Thank you so much.
But before we leave, I would like to announce something that we just learned. Eisa Alhabib was named in Forbes just a minute ago, 30 under 30, as one of the 30 under 30. Let's enjoy that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It was such an honor to be on stage with you guys. Thank you so much for welcoming Saudi. I love you guys. I'm going to be back here, inshallah, soon, this month.
We would love to have you. Thank you so much. Shukran, Baraa. Thank you, Maram. Thank you guys so much.
Wow, great conversation. And I got something for you from Najd Heritage. Awafi Yalla, it's a very beautiful character. If you need any story, I'm ready. Awafi Yalla. Anybody knows Awafi Yalla here? بس أنا؟ Awafi Yalla. Okay, it's a character that means to scare kids from a young age, like in Najdi. أيوة بس عاد في الرياض عوافي يلا يعطيكم العافية. Thank you very much for this beautiful conversation. It touched me really deep.